It's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to be doing a video for a viewer that requested a hummingbird card, and today I'm going to make it. First off, let's talk about masking. This set I got is from Stampendous. It's Franz, and it comes with stencils. Well, you can also use these as masks, and it comes with 2 flowers and the 2 different size hummingbirds. And I've already stamped out some hummingbirds on another piece of cardstock because I might layer up this hummingbird. I'm not sure. I did 4 of them, and I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do that or not, but that's the first thing I did. I decided this hummingbird, as much as I love it because it's big and detailed, it's just too big for what we're going to do. So I'm going to use the smaller one, and I'm going to stamp it, and then I'm going to layer over it with this mask. It's called a stencil, but really it's a mask because it's going to make it so that when we stamp the flowery part of it, the hummingbird will still maintain its place in the foreground. So when you do this, the thing you mask is the thing you want to be the furthest out on your image. You want it to be the thing that you see more than anything else. Okay, so what I mean by that is, if I put this down like this and I don't mask this hummingbird, the hummingbird's beak is going to be lost. Do you understand that? Because I'm not, because there's no way to protect it. So basically I'm stamping a flower over the hummingbird face. So what you do is you take, again, they call it a stencil because once you pull this out, it is a stencil. So you probably can't see this, but I'm going to lift this back off. And I'm going to lay this over my hummingbird, and hopefully we're going to get it to stay in place. I want its beak to be, the thing that I really care about is the beak through the head, because that's where these flowers could impede our little birdie. So then I'm going to lay my flowers so that my beak looks like it's going to go into that one. There is the set, in case I didn't tell you, it's called Hummingbirds CRS5072. I bought mine at joannes.com. I don't know if they still have it, but I don't think that Stampendous really changes these things out a lot. If they do, you can always find this kind of stuff on eBay. But I love this set. This is the second time I've made a card on video with it because it's just so beautiful. And the first one I'll link at the end so you can see it, because I did that one on vellum and it was really kind of cool. I'm using Simon Says Stamp black ink, Intense Black. I really like it for alcohol markers, and there now you can see our hummingbird's beak is in the foreground of this rather than having the flower hide its beak is in the foreground. So hopefully that helps you if you're going to ever do masking, because it is kind of confusing when you mask, because you don't know, when you mask, sometimes you don't know, is that the back image, is that the front image, is it the thing you're going to be hiding, is it the thing you're not hiding? I don't know. Anyway, that's what I'm doing this video for. One thing is showing you how the ways that you mask to make it work for you. Next up, we're going to cut out our second and third hummingbirds, just because I wanted to make sure that when we did this, that my hummingbirds were all, if I do layer them, I don't know if I should cut them out or if I should not cut them out, because what I want to do is I'm going to layer it so that the tail of the hummingbird is higher than the face. So I guess I'll color them first and then we'll do that later. Now I'm going to put all this away, and I'm going to get my alcohol markers out that we're going to use, and I'll be back. Before we go any further, I'm going to give you the colors I'm using just so you have them. There's a lot. I'm going to fast forward through the coloring as I always do, but I'm going to give you these first. These are Touch 5 markers. They're alcohol-based markers, much like Copics or Spectrum Noirs, and actually this big fat black one is a Spectrum Noir marker, and it's the only one that's outside the rest of them, so it's a GT1. Then in the Touch 5s, I have in the greens 43, 51, 172, and 174. In the cream colors, I have 36 and 101, which is a yellow ochre. Then I have 34 and 44, which are the yellows. Then in the oranges, I have 14 and 23. And then in the browns, I have 100, 103. Might be another one, but not so far. Then in the reds, I have 15, 3, and 10. So those are the colors I'm going to be focusing on first. And what I've done in the meantime is I've done one of my hummingbirds I've colored. Now I'm going to color them in stages so that this one will not have as much coloring on it as this one, because it's going to end up being my top one, and this will have even far less coloring because this is going to be the one that's going to be our hidden under the other layers. As far as the rest of my background, I have this die that says "For You" that I thought I would put in here somewhere, but I have 3 of them. I'm going to layer those up, and I'm probably going to put some some alcohol marker coloring on the edges of that to make it a little bit more frisky. Let me tell you this, if you have a marker that's starting to go dry, I have a video that I'll link at the end of this on how to add alcohol to them to make them rehydrated again. And the thing that's nice about that is it works if the marker is just going dry, but if a marker is really super dry, a lot of times you can't save them from the grave. They're done. Now is when I'm going to go back in with a color that's going to kind of tone everything down a little bit, lighten it up, and make the centers so you can see the flower or the leaf a lot better. Especially when you are using a mid-tone that's dry, like that one was getting dry. This lighter shade will, because it's not so dry, this one will go over that and smooth out the lines and make it look a lot more natural. I think I'm liking that pretty well. Next step, let's paint our bird, keeping in mind that all we have to do with this bird is paint the parts that are going to show up, which would be the edges and the back. You don't have to paint the whole, or you don't have to color in the whole thing, because as I said, we're going to make sure that we have layers of bird on top of it. We have hummingbirds here that have green bellies. That's why I did a green belly on this. They have red on them, they have green on them, but I like the variety in the color of them, so that's why I colored mine the way I did. If you don't have hummingbirds that have those kind of colors, I'm sorry about that, but that's what mine look like. They have darker, put some shading on this because I do think this will show. I go back over it with the lightest color. First off, let's glue together our 4 U's. I have some glue, and I'm just going to squeeze out like that, and I'll get one of my micro brushes. Now I don't know if you can see the discoloration in this glue, but what happened was I used a pin to go into my fine tip applicator, and the pin wasn't one that doesn't rust, so it started to rust, and then as soon as it started to rust, then that changes the glue. These are the things that happen to me. You know how it goes. I'm just sloppily putting this on, even though I don't intend to sloppily put it on, but speed is kind of the essence, you know. I don't want you guys to wait for years for me to get this sentiment glued together with its next buddy. And I'm gonna dip it in there. Probably a mistake, but I'm doing it anyway, so that I can do all 3 layers from this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the layer that goes under it. Okay. For you. And I'm probably going to put some embossing powder on these, because I like when my layered dies have a more finished look, and I think embossing powder really does a nice job of that. You probably thought that this wouldn't work, but so far that's what it looks like. And I'm going to cut out my little hummingbird. Okay, I think he looks pretty good. Now, it's all a matter of how we're going to use our foam to lift him up and make him 3-dimensional. So I just cut them into like little strips. And I'm going to do one. No, wait, I know what I'm going to do. I'll put this behind it so you can really see him versus everything else, because everything's white. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put 2 layers of foam on top of each other right there on his tail. That way we end up having his tail really 3-dimensional. Then his wings, we're going to do a single layer, because again we want the dimension, but we're going to make him have a certain amount of dimension, thicker in certain parts and less in other parts. I hope that made sense. Okay, so you lay him directly over where he was already. Okay, we're going to press that into our Versamark pad. so it gets wet on the first layer at least. Okay. Now you're going to let it cool a little bit. You don't want to jump into this while this is still really hot. You can, if it's screaming hot, you can try dumping the powder on it. I've never had really good luck doing that because it seems like you don't get a consistent coverage. But what you do have good luck with is if you let this cool down so that you can touch it, then you put it back in your pad again. See how I got some on the back, which I did not want to do. Hey, did you see my Easter fingernails? I painted those on Easter morning, and they're still pink. I know, it's shocking. They look kind of rough, but we're going with it anyway. Second covering, hopefully better than the first. Some of it will look kind of bubbly and weird, like right there. And if that's the case, sometimes you either need to go over it again with a little bit more powder, and I think that's what I'm going to do, and try and get it off of my background before it destroys it for good. And I did decide I'm going to cut my background down and make it smaller and put it on a black background. And I don't know if I want to do this or not. I'm thinking about doing something to this was not so white. I hate white. I just don't like having a white background like that. I'm just saying. So I put some watercolor on here in that color that was the same as our clouds, and I don't love it. I'll be honest. I think I really screwed it up, but on the flip side of that, I'm going to cover more things up and do some diamond. I'm going to do some of this diamond glaze and do like a 3D image on these so that our flowers stand out again, and it all looks better than it does right now, so that we have a better image that we had a minute ago. I'm trying to turn that a little bit. Right now we're stuck at the hot mess stage, and I'm hoping I can get us out of the hot mess stage. Let's talk about the hot mess stage. This is horrible, but I have to say I'm really excited because I came up with an idea that I think is so much better, but it involves having to cut the whole thing out and just having the bird and the flower stalk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that out, and then I'm going to come back and explain to you what my new plan is, and I'm really excited about the new plan, so hopefully you will be too. So let me give you my big secret to, once you've made a terrible mess of something, how to fix it. What you do is you go without sleep for a night while you're contemplating it, and then you come up with a plan. Then implementing the plan is always the trickiest part, but I did come up with what I thought was really a good idea, and I went on the internet and I looked to see if anyone else has ever done this. Well, what I want to do is I'm going to create a 3D frame that I'm going to put my my bird and flower into, and the frame is going to it's going to be a 3D frame on the card, but it also is going to be made so that this will kind of come out of the frame and lay on the side of it. Some of it you have to kind of imagine, but anyway, my plan is that I make all my edges black so that no matter if this is inside the frame or if it's something that comes out of the frame and lays onto the side of the frame, you won't see any weird edges, any white edges or any green edges from the mess I made before. So that's what I'm trying to do now, is just make sure that all my edges are really clean and that you can only see what I want you to see. I don't want you to see any of the green that I didn't actually get cut out, because it was kind of tricky to cut out all that messy green part. And so I want to make sure that that part is all clean, and that all these inside spots are fixed and everything looks good before I make the frame. Here's my diagram of my frame. It's going to be, in the inside, it's going to be 4.5 inches across and 6.5 inches tall. So then I figured all the dimensions that I need to score. So let me get my scoreboard. Your total dimensions of this piece of paper are going to be 7 inches tall by, no, that's not it. It goes this way. It's going to be 7 inches across by 9 inches tall. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to score a 1/4 inch, and then at the 1/2 inch, then at the inch, and then at 1 1/4 inches. We're going to turn it one turn. A 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, oops, 1 inch, and 1 1/4 inches. I know you find it hard to believe, but that's all the scores I'm going to do. You're probably thinking to yourself, geez, Sandy, that's enough scores for anybody. Next thing we're going to do is I want to cut out some of these pieces, where I want to maybe cutting out is not the appropriate term. For right now, I'm going to cut on the 1 1/4 inch score mark from either side to the last score line. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Then turn it around. We're going to do the same thing on this side. These are the scores that are closest to the center up to the last score line that's on here. Okay? So you want to start with your first 1/4 inch score line and just bend it up that much. Then your next score, bend it up. Then the bigger score, bend it up. And then you have your last score that you need to bend up. Okay. I'm going to turn it around. We're going to do it on this side. We're playing the same game, exactly the same on the top and the bottom. Next step in our process, I'm not sure how much of this I want to cut off. I'm going to leave, no, I have to cut it all off. I think I have to cut this all off. I'm really contemplating this. Remember, I'm making this up as I go, so if I make a mistake, you don't have to, you know, don't kill me for it, because this is a prototype of the world's greatest card. Before I go any further, I think I want to put at least the paper that I'm thinking about putting in here. And the inside should measure 4.5 by 6.5. Let's see if I at least got that much on. Yep, 4.5. This is shocking so far. By 6.5. Correct for 50, Jack. Now, do I want to use, I thought I would use this kind of cool paper. So I'm going to cut this to 4.5 by 6.5, or I'm going to try to anyway. And for this, I'm going to use my Fiskars trimmer, because I think it will do the best job of giving me or cutting this, because it's not just a burlap, it's also got like a plastic back to it. Not too shabby. Okay. The next step is we're going to fold this. What we're going to do is, I hope you can see what I'm doing here. I have this 1/4 inch piece, and I'm going to put tear tape on that, and then I'm going to fold it under. Keep folding it until we have a square like that. I know, genius, isn't it? Well, we'll wait and see how it works, and then you can go, wow, Sandy, you're crazy. That didn't work for anything. Oh, while I'm tear taping these, I'll tell you a funny story. I have a girlfriend in Canada who has been holding back with this information for quite some time, and she finally decided, we were talking on the phone the other day, and she finally decided, ooh, that was bad, ignore that. She finally decided to tell me what she's been holding back all this time. She said, Sandy, do you know what frisky means in Canada? I said, no, I don't know what frisky means in Canada. So all of you Canadians out there who have been cringing every time I say frisky, I apologize to you. I had no idea that in Canada it means something like, let's say two people are going out back to get frisky. Are you following that? That's what it means. And I feel stupid that I'm using a term that in Canada it means something like that. So I apologize for you Canadians, and unfortunately here's what I'm going to tell you. You know I'm still going to say it because I'm never going to remember to stop saying it, because it's like my word of choice for everything I do. So I apologize in advance if I offend anyone, but you know I'm probably going to offend people. Let's cut out these edges too, because now I'm committed. I've decided this is going to work. I mean, it might not work, but I'm committed to believing it will. So anyway, back to my frisky story. I do apologize. I did not know that's what it meant. Here in the U.S., well, at least in my life, it means if something is frisky, it means it's fun, it's frolicky. It doesn't mean going out back with your partner. Just saying. Maybe it does in parts of the U.S. I just found out when I did a video and I said when you roll tape up in a ball and use it under a piece of paper to hold it in place, that's called a donut. I said, you know, in the United States, that's what it's called. I had so many people in the United States go, I never heard that saying. So yet again, I've done something else that's kind of on the lunatic side. So I'm going to take my backing off, and we're going to do one slowly. Okay, this piece, piece that has the tear tape on it, it really has to have its fold in place perfectly, because when we put it down, we need to make sure that we push it under there as far as we can so that it's a flat surface. Now, if you have wet glue, you might want to consider using a little wet glue with this at the same time. Now, this is the part that I was thinking I would have to miter out, and I'm going to have to do that. Do you see how my side edges are too long to fit right there? So what I need to do is I'm going to need to cut this. I'm going to cut it so that it's even. I probably should have used like a ruler or something, but I didn't. See, the problem is once I do that, you can see this. So maybe what I need to do is just put a piece of this inside there. Take it in, slide it in. This is the moment where you're going to go, I can't believe you did that. Ha! Can you believe I did that? I'm laughing at myself. I saw a woman make a frame, and her frame really looked cute. And we're only going to have this problem at the bottoms because our sides are going to go all the way in and be hidden by this, if that makes sense. So we're going to need to trim a little bit more of this edge off. Just kind of like you would do if you were making a box. You just need to, you know, trim it a little bit. So now we're going to take that piece, that's the tricky piece, and I'm going to put a little bit of wet glue on it too, because obviously just tear tape doesn't really make it work as much as I want it to. You're going to tuck it all the way under. Tuck it all the way under. And then we're going to hold it down. See how this side, ooh, I pushed too hard. See how these two sides meet perfectly? I know you're shocked. It's a shocking event for all of us. Trust me. Before I put the next two pieces on, I think I will have to put in my my canvasy stuff, or whatever you call this stuff, because we need to make sure it's going to fit. And for this, I'm definitely putting wet glue under it because it's that plastic, And I'm pretty sure that plastic is not going to want to play with tear tape. That's how much glue I put on the back. It's a lot, I know. And then I'm going to put this, I'm going to slide it gently in there and make sure it's butted up against all the corners that are in place so far, because they're the ones that matter. Oh, look at all the glue I got on the paper. Holy cow. Alright, let's hold that down. Hey, for a first time of making my own frame, I don't think I did too bad. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's not horrible. And on this side, I am going to be running some flowers and things on the side, so I don't think we need to worry about. See, I didn't think it would hold that. That is going to be the tricky part. I might have to use hot glue. Okay, here we go. We've got the glue gun ready, and I'm ready to burn myself. All of you who have never seen me burn myself, be prepared. It's not going to be pretty. I'll probably be crying. So I'm going to lift up this piece that didn't glue down, and I'm going to take the glue gun and just run a little bead, hopefully, under there, and then push that down ever so gently, holding on to it just long enough so it stays in place. And then same with this one, we're going to go under the end here and just run a little bead. Hopefully I'm in the right place. And I'm going to tuck everything, push it down. What I thought I would do, oh wait, I wanted to do this first because I figured it would make sense to put my card base on it next. In case you wondered, I have a plan for this. And I wanted to make sure when I put this down that I put it on here the right way, which is this way, and that it's the right size. And I know you're shocked, but it is. So I'm going to make it so that my card opens like that. I could hot glue that down, but I'm afraid it would have like a waffly texture to it. I know that sounds crazy and probably is, but we're going to use the tear tape because I think it would behoove us to have something on here that we know will stick. Okay, I'm just going to put it like that. Okay, we're rolling now. I have another idea of something I want to do. These are little nail decorations that I bought from AliExpress. I didn't buy them for nail decorations. I bought them specifically for cards. And I thought they would be fun. And I was going to say frisky, but as you know, I'm trying to avoid that word. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn it sideways and see if it's long enough to go the length of this. Oh, how lucky is that? Not completely straight, but I think I can move it a little bit. Now, oh look how pretty I am. I'm going to cut a little bit of that off and we'll just leave it there since part of it's on my thumb. Oh look, I'm a princess for sure. Alright, look at the green on that nail. I think I'm going to leave all of them just the way they are because they're just so lovely. Now we have to figure out where we're going to put this little fella. This is how I was trying to explain that some of it will be inside the frame, some of it will be outside of the frame. And I'm going to have to hot glue it in. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue right in there. And that's where our flowers are going to lay. Are you shocked? Didn't burn myself yet. Oh, what am I bragging for? You know it's just a matter of time. You know what I'm saying, people. It's just a matter of time. Alright, I'm going to put a little glue dot there and a little glue dot there. I'm going to try and make these a little bit three-dimensional. Oh, that one needs a little glue on it. I forgot to glue that one. We're just gonna put a little bit of glue under his little tail feathers. I'm gonna put our For You. I really don't know how I do these things. Do you? Anybody? Anybody? Do you think Jennifer McGuire glues things on backwards? I bet she doesn't. Christina Werner? Probably not. Just saying. Probably the only one. And then I'm going to put For You right there. I'm going to put my stamp on the back, and we're going to call this a day. I hope at the very least you got a kick out of this, because it was kind of crazy. So here's our card. I hope you give it a thumbs up, that you'll subscribe, and tell your friends about me on social media, because where else are you going to find this kind of crazy? Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.